F124 Driver Career Mode Season 2, Round Number 4, the Miami Grand Prix. We're finally going to a track that we didn't go to in Season 1, and it is, of course, the Miami Circuit. The Red Rock, what's it called? The Miami International Autodrome is apparently what it's called, for round 4. So a track that we haven't driven so far in this game. It is another sprint weekend though, just like in China. So back-to-back sprint weekends here. Looking at R&D, we're kind of plateauing again because we just haven't been able to afford any upgrades. Ferrari getting a few upgrades in though. They're still ahead of Mercedes, but now even closer to us. Red Bull have just brought out a small upgrade as well to put them just ahead of us at McLaren. So it is all still hotting up, and yeah, Ferrari are definitely going to be a team to look at because they've been doing very well considering they're not quite with that top 3 group. Now that they're edging even closer to it, it could be good stuff coming for Ferrari. Now SQ1 here, we've got Gasly completely blocking us here, so that's not great. This lap is going to be good enough to get us through to SQ2 though, but yeah, not ideal there having Gasly block us. We ended up P7 because of that. My pace here seemingly pretty good considering, you know, we lost, I'm sure, at least a 10th or 2 in that first sector there with Gasly. Lance Stroll, the slowest qualifier in sprint qualifying, so very unfortunate for him. He has scored a point for RB so far this season. Next onto SQ2, we look at the second sector, and yeah, once again, medium tyres, you know, what everybody's running in sprint qualifying, and feeling pretty good at the moment. The car is feeling good. I seem to be rather nippy, rather quick through Sector 2. Sector 1 and Sector 3 I'm not the best at, but Sector 2, I don't know if it's just the setup on my car or what, because I think do we go purple here? Yes, we do, right at the end there. And we end up going P2 in SQ2, just behind Fernando Alonso. No surprises out in SQ2. Yeah, Hamilton just about manages to make it through in that Mercedes, which is falling away from this top group now that Ferrari is starting to pull clear of them. And then SQ3, of course, we're on the soft compound tyres, and only one run because we only have one set of tyres, so I'm not going to waste a run, you know, on a set of tyres. I'll just go right at the end. I don't know if that's what the AI do as well. They must do, because they always seem to go out for 2 runs. We cross the line. Unfortunately, it's actually not the best lap time. It's P7, 126.7. Although, yeah, it was a little bit of a scruffy lap, I will be honest. So only P7 for the sprint. It's Charles Leclerc once again showing pace in that Ferrari at the front of the field for the sprint race.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Shaw, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Albon, Gasly, Ocon, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Bottas, Joe, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Here we go for the sprint race in Miami, starting P7 on the grid. Charles Leclerc starting on pole position. It is lights out. They're on for a long time, but away we go. We're on the soft compound tyres. It's a mix of softs and mediums. Most people actually on the mediums, so a little bit of a surprise there. I thought most people would go on the softs. We've managed to jump Perez, though, into turn 1, who is starting on the medium. So our teammate on the medium compound, we've managed to get ahead of him, and we're now hounding Piastri up ahead in the Aston Martin, who goes very wide through that corner, a bit wide through the next as well. Seems to be struggling there on those soft compound tyres. He's on the softs just like we are, but we will carry on. The Ferrari of Leclerc and that is Norris have kind of broken away already a little bit out front there. I think they're also both on soft compound tyres. Pretty sure like the top 2 or 3 were on softs, and then most other people on mediums apart from me and Piastri. But we see Alonso and Verstappen going wheel to wheel just up ahead. We're tucked up behind Piastri here, can't do anything around this tight section. I think Verstappen's made that move. What a move for the defending champion here, the 3-time four-time, no, it's four-time champion, isn't it? Because this is the 2025 season, so he's won 21, 22, 23, and 2024 has Max Verstappen. As we head down the back straight for the first time, Alonso's coming back at Verstappen. We don't even have DRS enabled yet, but Alonso's already gotten back past Verstappen again and up into third place. So he'll be looking for some good points here after, you know, a pretty poor start to the season in the first 2 rounds at least. Brought it back a little bit in China, but definitely hasn't had the start of the season that he would have wanted with 2 mechanical failures in the first 2 races. Oscar Piastri is trying to make moves though, as Alonso managed to gap Verstappen. Piastri's now getting past Verstappen as well. Verstappen seems to be struggling here. He's behind his teammate, of course, although I think he's on mediums and Norris is on softs. So that is now Piastri passed, and yeah, Piastri is also on softs as well. We're right behind Verstappen here too, and potentially looking at a move on these soft compound tyres that are better at this early point of the race, but we'll have to see how long they last. We blast down the outside of Verstappen and get into P5. So good start from us, good positions made. However, get into lap 3 and I'm really struggling on like grip out of corners and straight line speed. I have no straight line speed whatsoever, as Verstappen and Perez are going to go round either side of us and are now going to fight each other into the next corner. Perez on the outside gives him the inside for the next corner. Great work for Perez there, getting up 2 positions. But that means that we're now down 2 positions. We just don't seem to have the straight line speed here. We're really starting to struggle, as now we have Perez, who's on a bit of a mad one now, going for a move on Piastri, who is also seemingly struggling on the soft tyres. So maybe the softs were not the tyre to be on. The 2 leaders don't seem to be having an issue, but yeah, me and Piastri going down the order. I think I have also heard though over the radio that Piastri has an issue, so if it's not one Aston Martin, it's going to be the other one. Alonso's also up to P2, I've just noticed as well, so not sure when that happened, but Piastri is trying to defend from Verstappen, but unfortunately he can't, and now we are right behind Verstappen. And although we have Carlos Sainz right up behind us, as we struggle for straight line speed here, we are going to pull out alongside Piastri, go side by side with them down to the next corner and get that position. So we're now back up into P6 again, but it's not looking great for us as Piastri drops back. Sainz is now the car directly behind us, and we just do not have the speed or the ERS to fight it here, and he's going to go round up the inside and absolutely fly past us into the final couple of corners here. And yeah, we are really starting to struggle on the straights here with this setup that we have in the car. Or maybe it's just the AI are really good traction out of corners. I don't know. It seems all over the place with this game. Norris and Alonso still fighting it out, as Norris trying to get back at Alonso, when he does, back up into second place. He has a massive slide. Big old Tokyo drifting for Lando Norris. That's not going to help him with his run out of that corner and onto the back straight. And sure enough, with now having the DRS advantage, Alonso's going to breeze up behind Lando Norris. He's going to go to the inside very, very quickly, and he's going to get past Lando into that corner. Norris almost goes into the back of Alonso, but thankfully neither of them have any damage. Once again, we're really struggling. We're now behind Sainz, and we're actually going to go for a dive on him into this next corner, just to see what we can do here. Side by side, he's still there on the inside. Can we go around the outside? Because this is where we're quick. This is where the car is very good through these tight corners. It seems to be where my car is. So the setup, I get my setups from the same place, all my setups from Sim Racing Setups on YouTube. Sometimes they're really good setups, sometimes maybe not, because although it was, you know, decent like speed time trial wise here in the races, I have a lot of speed through the corners, but I have absolutely no speed on the straights whatsoever, and Sainz just gets us straight back again. So we are really struggling here. And as we now head down to turn 1, we're not looking ahead of us, we're looking behind us again, as the 2 Mercedes are behind us. Russell looking for a move here to the outside into turn 1, but we're going to brake as late as we possibly can and just about keep the position, but we are really struggling. Charles Leclerc, though, is not struggling. He's on the soft compound tyres, but I don't know what it is with him and Ferrari this season. He won in Japan, and he's going to go ahead to win the sprint race here in Miami. Once again, he's got the 4th quickest car on paper, but he is putting in amazing performances. He has gapped Alonso by 2 or 3 seconds there, so what a result for Leclerc. We have a little look at signs into the final corner, but we can't do anything. We're going to have to just try and keep it on the road. A lot of squirming around that final couple of corners. We stay ahead of Russell. It's going to be 2 points for us in this Miami sprint race. Yeah, looked really promising at the start, had great pace for like 2 or 3 laps, and then just absolutely fell off a cliff. Did not have the straight line speed at all to compete with the cars around us, and means we ended up finishing exactly where we started, which is not ideal, with Perez finishing in P4. He made up some good positions on those medium tyres there, and it is Leclerc from Alonso from Norris dropping to P3, but still some good points for him, and beating his teammate Verstappen, who finishes 5th. It was 2.7 seconds between Leclerc and Alonso in the end. We were 9.8 seconds, almost 10 seconds off the lead there in a 10-lap race. So, yeah, did not really work, but our fast time though, our fastest lap time is faster than Checo's. It's actually pretty reasonable, so very strange. We get into actual proper qualifying though, and we have even more issues, maybe because it is wet. The rain is here in Miami, and we have got full wet tyres on, and now have to get used to this track in the rain. Now, thankfully, I learned from China that you can change setups between sprint and the main Grand Prix, and there is a bit of rain forecast for the race, so I am going to put on a wet setup. So this is a wet setup that I've got on the car now, so that made me hopeful that maybe we could do well. We knew we were quick in qualifying here, and this game, opposite to F123, in F123 in the rain, I seem to be really good in the rain compared to the AI. Here, not so much. We are very nearly knocked out of Q1. P15, a 141.1. We are less than half a tenth. We are half a tenth away from getting knocked out in Q1. But the biggest surprise, Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso are both out in Q1. So maybe it's not just us. Those guys struggled. 18th place for Max Verstappen, 16th for Fernando Alonso. Oh boy, they've got a lot to make up in the race, that's for sure. It's now Q2. The rain has eased off a little bit. Now this is interesting. The game was telling me to put on wet compound tyres. But then my engineer, before I went out, said, you might want to put a set of inters on for this session. So I went, okay, I'll put inters on. Went to go change the inters. The game was like, this is not the suitable tyre. But I stuck with it. And, well, let's wait and see what happens here, because, yeah, everybody else is on wet compound tyres. It is noticeably drier than it was in Q1, that is for sure. It is still raining, but it is noticeably drier than it was in Q1. And as we cross the line here, look at that, it's P2 in the end. We don't quite beat Piastri, but I think the intermediate tyres were the tyre to be on. So I don't know, it's another issue with this game. This game has so many glitches and issues, and it's just ridiculous. Leclerc is out in P12, so another shock out. Another driver expected to be in Q3 out in Q2. So that means that we now have Yuki Tsunoda, I think Kevin Magnussen, and one of the Alpines, I think Esteban Ocon, maybe, into Q3. So surprising drivers into Q3 there. And now in Q3, started off wet, intermediate tyres. Everybody was on intermediate tyres this time. And then went dry, just about dried up for the end of qualifying. So we're now on a set of soft compound tyres for this final run in Q3. Track is still a little bit damp. You can see here I'm struggling a little bit with actually some understeer as Kevin Magnussen crosses the line, goes quickest, but now everybody's going to start going over and getting quicker and quicker as we now come, of course, DRS enabled with the dry compound tyres. You can see it's still very gloomy. The track is still a little cold, which is why, you know, if anything, I'm getting a little bit of understeer here and there. But we continue on through this next section. We know we're good through here. In these conditions, it might be a little bit different. And of course, we've got a wet setup on the car. So whether that'll help us or not, I don't know. But we're still quickest through Sector 2. But I guess that makes sense because a wet setup means more downforce, and that is very much a downforce sector on the most part. So yeah, it makes sense that we're quick through sector 2 as we come into the final braking zone. Round the final couple of corners here. This is a very tricky corner, especially in these conditions when the track's only just dried out. We go ahead and cross the line. It is P5. We unfortunately don't quite manage to beat Perez, and we don't even get on the front row. Oscar Piastri goes quickest, just half a tenth ahead of Carlos Sainz. Then it's Lando Norris. Sainz, by the way, great job for him. Leclerc was looking mighty in previous sessions, but he's very good here. Then it's Perez and myself. The two Mercedes doing a good job in 6th and 7th. And then the 3 outliers of Magnussen, Ocon and Tsunoda in 3 cars that weren't expected to get through to this session, but did. So let's see what happens in the race.
Well, it's no secret that F1 is booming in popularity right now in the USA. Today's race, one of 3 in the United States, is a testament to that. It's time for the Miami Grand Prix. A lap of the Miami Grand Prix features 3.36 miles of track around the Hard Rock Stadium, and 19 corners make up the Miami International Autodrome, which will challenge the drivers in a tight wheel-to-wheel race. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Perez, Shaw, Russell, Hamilton, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Stroll, Leclerc, Bottas, Albon, Ocon, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Sargent, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, and Zhou Guanyu. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Some grid penalties for some drivers, but we are starting, I believe, in P5? So I think we're still where we were because no drivers ahead of us have penalties. But here we go, everybody on the medium compound tyres. It's a good start for us. Already challenging Russell. It's almost 4 wide. Sorry, we're not challenging Russell, we're challenging Perez. It's 4 wide almost into turn 1. It's then 3 wide on the exit. We're ahead of Perez. Norris is ducked back ahead of us. Hamilton is challenging us though. He's had a great start in the Mercedes. We're side by side with him into the next left-hander. Great little bit of racing here on the curb, trying to, give him the room but still keep our position. He's still there on the inside. We struggle a little bit with this corner. Just try and go round, knock onto that curb there, and he's still looking, but we've just about managed to get ahead. But now we know how much we struggle with the straight line speed here. Can we stay ahead of Hamilton? He's tucked up right behind us, and actually Perez has managed to get alongside him, and that might save us into the next corner. Perez, I think, has a look there. Someone has a look up the inside, but now those two are fighting each other. We're right here behind Norris. With all that fighting, Piastri and Sainz. Sainz has actually taken the lead of this race, and those guys have already made a little bit of a gap, 1.7 seconds ahead of us up the road, but we continue on with Lando Norris up ahead. Thankfully, you got a bit of breathing room now. Perez is ahead of Hamilton, so that's good for him as well. We've both, well, actually, no, really, all that's happened with us is that me and Perez have swapped position. So I guess that's a good thing for us. Ride the curb a little bit too much on the left there, maybe. But once again, out of that last corner, we really struggle on traction out of there. But we have got up to P4 at the start of this race. That is good. Looking at the start from Carlos Sainz, he of course started in second place. He had the inside line. He got a much better run into turn 1, much better launch than Piastri. Piastri tried fighting with him around these first couple of corners, but Sainz got his car ahead and up into the lead. So Carlos Sainz will be going for a race win here for sure. With his teammate, winning the sprint race and also winning in Japan. Sainz, I don't believe, has had a race win yet in this career mode. I don't think he won a race last season, so he will be looking to change that here, that's for sure. As we're now right up behind Lando Norris, and finally we can actually look at an overtake here, because you know what, my car's feeling pretty damn good despite it being completely dry, and we have an unchanged wet setup on the car. The car feels good. We're fighting with Norris around the final corner. Great side-by-side action here. He's just ahead of us, but we're going to try and brake a little bit later into turn 1, take a tight inside line and get past him. We're up into P3. It is looking at a podium for us right now. A great start to this race. Piastri now is on the back of Sainz and is going for a move off this straight into the very technical sector, kind of second half of the second sector. Sainz is going to challenge it, but in the end, Piastri will get ahead and up a position and up into the lead. Perez now behind Norris and myself, and I think this is where, once again, we're going to start seeing a bit of a struggle down the straight here, although I don't feel like I'm struggling quite as much as I was in the sprint race, although Perez and Norris both go round the outside of me and up a position, so that puts us down to 5th now. But at the moment, I'm not feeling quite as bad as I did in the sprint because we're on the same tyres as everyone, and it feels about the same, if not a little bit better than we did in the sprint. And considering we had a better tyre in the sprint, I think this setup, despite being a wet setup, is actually working better for us here in the dry, which is very unusual. Perez then gets himself up into P3 ahead of Norris. I think this is just going to be a constant changing of positions here. You can see though, Norris's light, his ERS battery light is on. He's recovering energy. He's used all his ERS, and we're going to plow down the outside, although he now gets more ERS and is going to challenge us into the next corner, but we just about go over to the left, defend the position, and we're now up into P4. So it's now P3 and P4 for the McLaren drivers. And now Perez, the car ahead of us. Norris has fallen back a little bit here, and we're sensing an opportunity on our teammate. We don't want to be too aggressive with him, but round the outside he goes very defensive, and I think we're going to be side by side with him through this section. Not quite for long though, because we managed to get the position on the inside, and we're now up into P3. Purple sector 2, once again we're very quick through sector 2, as once again we struggle out of that final couple of corners, really struggle on the traction. That's going to maybe let Perez go for a move. We go defensive into turn 1. He's there on the outside. He brakes about the same time as us, so we're going to be side by side through turn 1 and through turn 2, side by side with the two McLarens. This is some good action here, some great racing. We're still side by side as we now head into the left-hander, and he just gets a bit of an edge on us, and I let him go because I think, you know what, I'll just wait until here when we have DRS, because otherwise I'll get past him and he'll just get straight back past me again. So that's what we end up doing, getting the DRS down this straight. This time it's to the inside of Perez, and we go on the brakes very late, almost too late. He gets the switch back on us. He's now on the outside, but once again we have really good traction around these tight corners, and we're back up into P3, and this time I think we managed to defend down the straight. Magnussen is doing a very good job at the moment in P8 in the Haas. They haven't scored any points, currently last in the Constructors, but they're still not going to score any points, and neither is Magnussen because he has a mechanical failure in the DHL Haas. Very unfortunate. Was looking at some good points there, P8, and he's out of this Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc has had a pretty good run through the field here. Oh, I say that, he was only in like P12, wasn't he? So he wasn't far away from points to begin with. But he's now trying to get past Lance Stroll in the RB. Both RBs in the top 10 at the moment, so they're looking at getting a good result. But Leclerc's really fighting with this one, although Stroll manages to stay ahead of him. Great defense from Stroll there, but I don't think he's going to be able to defend for any longer, as Leclerc down into the final corner is going to try and go around the outside. Stroll is still just about ahead at the moment, but he's going to do what we did with Norris, be on the inside for the next corner and get a great run out of there and get the position up into P9 for Charles Leclerc, and Alonso is also shortly going to follow him through. We continue on lap number 10, and oh my god, it's an engine failure. It's the dreaded engine failure. We've been doing so well this season. We haven't had one so far, but technically, well, it's 4 races in. It's technically, I guess, 6 races in, counting the sprints. We have now had our first engine failure of the season with McLaren. We, of course, had like 3 or 4 in a row almost at the end of the last season with Aston Martin. It was looking good for us here, but Perez had an engine failure in China last time out. And now we get one here when running in P3 podium position, and we'd actually managed to gap Perez in the cars behind, so we were looking at a pretty damn good P3 podium, but it's gone away from us. We're out of the race. We're out of the Miami Grand Prix. Why? Why oh why does this happen when we're doing so well? That's it. That's us out. We're out of the race. all done.
Oscar Piastri, take a bow. What a performance, what a win.
They led from lights out to the flag at the end, and their race victory was never in doubt, was it? Brilliant stuff by them.
The Aston Martin team will be very happy with today's performance. And of course, the final result. Another display of excellent driving and excellent teamwork. And a well-deserved first-place finish.
Great work from Oscar Piastri. He kind of dominated that race, came home P1. But it's a great day for Ferrari as well. After Leclerc gets knocked out in Q2, he comes back to P3. What a drive from Charles Leclerc to get back to P3, just showing how quick. I mean, he's beaten both Red Bulls legitimately here, who are ahead of them in the R&D chart, but he's managed to come through past them all, finish P3, and Carlos Sainz as well gets his first podium of the season, I believe, in P2. What a result. What a result for Ferrari. That is going to really help them in this championship, and if they can just keep moving their car forward, they're going to be in a great position come the mid to late points of this season. As looking at the results, Piastri gets max points. These are the results from the actual race though. Leclerc also picks up the fastest lap, so that's 16 points for him. So he's at the top of the championship at the moment. I think he's going to keep that with that great points haul. Perez comes home P5 in the end, drops behind Alonso unfortunately, but still 10 points for him is pretty good. And Charles Leclerc still at the top, 78 points, just 16 points ahead of now Oscar Piastri in second place. We drop down to third. It is then Verstappen in fourth with Alonso fifth, Perez sixth, both joint on points. Then you've got Norris on 41 points and Sainz on 39. The two Mercedes only split by 2 points as well, Hamilton ahead of Russell. So looking pretty close all in all. And in the Constructors' Championship, we unfortunately lose the lead to Ferrari. The consistency from Ferrari, 117 points now, 11 points ahead of Aston Martin, and we are there in third on just 99 points. But everything, Drivers' Championship, Constructors' Championship, it is all so close at this early point of the season. Let's hope this continues on. We get some great results later on. So anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.